Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Let's see who's with us today. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, inshallah, we will shortly start our live daily reminder. We will allow some time for some more viewers to join us, inshallah ta'ala. Again, just to sort of give a background on this. So we're dealing with some of the statements of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every day we take about one or two statements on a specific topic, and we chose Riyadus Salihin, specifically Kitab al-Adab, the book of etiquettes or the book of manners, and starting with the section on al-haya, which is the sense of decency and shyness. So far we had 2 sessions already, and today inshallah we will be able to finish with this section on al-haya and move on to something else. So I can see we have 3 viewers already, so I think we can start with this inshallah ta'ala. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray you are all keeping well during these times. And again, here we have we have our session, our daily halaqah on the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our daily reminder. And we were dealing with the concept of al-haya, and we covered the hadith. There is one hadith I want to share with you that's not necessarily included in this section, but it is on the topic. And this is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, إن مما أدرك الناس من كلام النبوة الأولى إذا لم تستحي فاصنع ما شئت. إن مما أدرك الناس من كلام النبوة الأولى إذا لم تستحي فاصنع ما شئت. So from the all words of early prophets that still survived until today is the statement that if a person lacks shyness and decency, they will end up doing whatever they like, because there is no boundaries for them. Nothing holds them back. The sense of shyness holds people from doing things that are shameful. So if a person lacks this shyness and they have no sense of shame, then eventually they're going to commit whatever they want. They'll do whatever they like, because they will be inconsiderate of moral principles and inconsiderate of people's feelings and norms. So this brings us basically to try to discuss what haya really is. So haya is one of those concepts. It's a spiritual concept, because it's considered by the scholars as one of the actions of the heart. It's one of the ways that the heart does its own works. It's like respect. Now, respect, it's very hard to catch the spirit of respect in words, but you will know respect when you see the signs. So respect is not that I speak to you in a certain manner, because I could fake that, even though I may not have respect towards you. But speaking to someone in a certain manner, that is a sign of respect. Yes, but it's not respect itself. But the essence and the spirit of respect is something that we know experientially. We realize it inside us. We realize it when we have it, when we feel respect towards someone. Shyness is just like that. It is something that we feel, no matter how hard we try to find words to describe what shyness really is. It's very hard to capture in words. It remains a challenge. So, but we can try to get as close as possible to what shyness really is. Shyness comes from, so first let's just divide shyness into two main aspects, or two groups. One category of shyness is towards Allah, that when we are shy of Allah, when we have the sense of decency towards our Creator. And it basically means we won't do anything that Allah is displeased with. And if we happen to do it, we feel shy. We are broken before Allah because we have done something bad. We feel this sense of shame, this sense of guilt. Or if we have fallen short, we have failed to give Allah His rights, and thus we feel that we have fallen short and we have wronged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what we feel. We're like broken. We feel this sense of shame. We're broken in front of Allah. This is what shyness towards Allah is. That's the first category. The second category of shyness is social shyness. And this has to do with people, has to do with individuals, and has to do with groups or society in general. And this can be divided into subcategories. One of the main subcategories is universal sense of universal, I would say, standards for shyness. For example, and this has to do with morality. Let's say lying. If a person lies and people find out, the person feels shy. They're broken, right? They really feel the guilt, and they blush, and they feel that they are caught red-handed, right? This feeling, all right, this is shyness. Why? Because when you violate moral principles that are universal, that everyone agrees on, irrespective of their culture or their country or their upbringing. Theft, stealing. Someone would be shy to violate this. Let's say mistreatment or abuse of weak people, or of minors or children, right? It's inappropriate universally to see an adult abusing a child, right? Or using their power and their physical power against a child. It's inappropriate. So this makes someone feel shy if they actually do that. People are shy to do it, even though sometimes we might have, the evil side of us might take the better of us, and maybe we fall for it. So we want to do something like this. We want to violate these principles. But what prevents us is a sense of shyness, which is, if people see me, if people catch me doing this, I'm going to look bad, right? This is shyness. This is shyness. And this is good shyness. So this is social shyness, and this is a subcategory of it, which is universal. It's moral principles that spread or that extend across all cultures. But there is another subcategory of social shyness, which has to do with special norms of a specific locality or a specific culture. So, for example, in certain cultures, it is very normal to be loud and to laugh in public and express yourself. It's not considered to be rude, right? And I would say, generally speaking, in Western cultures, it's North American culture, for example, it's okay that you actually express yourself. You speak loudly in public, not like you scream, but you speak normally, as at ease. You're not concerned about you being in public. You could laugh, like you hear a joke, you'll laugh, right? It's not considered to be inappropriate or disrespectful, generally speaking, although some people might not appreciate it, I understand, but generally speaking, it's acceptable. But let's say if you do that in other cultures, this is frowned upon. This is like a cultural, not necessarily a cultural taboo, but it's inappropriate to do that in public. So, and this is good shyness. This is actually good shyness, because this is in the Arabic language and in Islamic terminology is called al-urf, or also al-ma'ruf. It's called al-urf and al-ma'ruf, meaning what's recognized, what's acknowledged, what's agreed upon by the people as principles for behavior. Right? So these are particular to specific cultures. And this is why it's important actually to note that and to be mindful of this, and not to cross-contaminate when it comes to this. So they say when in Rome, act like the Romans do. There is truth to this. There is truth to this. And there are people, sometimes we are guilty of this. We come from like a Muslim country, maybe an African country or an Arab country, or from the sub-Indian continent, or from any other Muslim country. We come to another country that has norms, and these norms are not necessarily part of Islam, they're just part of our culture back home. And then we treat the culture that we have as if it is Islam, and we expect people to live by it, and we expect people to accept it, and we want people to accept it. But that's not necessarily right. That's not necessarily right, because and we have this rule in Islam, in fiqh, one of the qawa'id, one of the maxims of fiqh. It actually says al-'ada muhakkama, or al-'urf muhakkam, which is people's norms in a locality. They have so much say about certain things. Obviously not when they contradict Islam, but this is, it has to do with open, behaviors. Is this acceptable or not? If Islam doesn't say anything about it, so we look at the norms. So for example, if you go to, let's say, Indonesia, more of the reserved areas, cultural areas in Indonesia, and you start laughing in public, it's very disrespectful. It's a violation. You might say, well, it's normal, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, there in that locality, it's not normal, and you should be shy actually doing it. You should be shy violating their principles. The same thing is when something is normal in our countries and we come to another country, let's say Canada here, and we want to do in public what we do in our countries, but here it is something that is frowned upon, and it's not part of Islam, but it's just part of our culture. We associate it with Islam because it is a culture of a Muslim country, or a country of a Muslim majority country. Again, this is not necessarily true, and not necessarily a good thing. The Prophet ﷺ, there was many instances in his seerah where he was very mindful of people's norms, and he would actually observe that, and he would be sensitive to that. There's many incidents in the seerah where like people came from a different look, like people came from Yemen, he would dress up like Yemeni people for them. And these are important things to understand. These are important. So again, we were speaking now here about shyness, social shyness as a category. So there's shyness with Allah, and there's shyness with society, either individuals or groups or societies. And we said the social shyness, some of it is universal, and these are moral principles that extend across cultures and nations. But there are sometimes local issues and principles and expectations and norms and appropriate behaviors that should not be, and I would say social norms that should not be violated. And if you violate them, you'll be frowned upon. Sometimes you might be attacked. The other day I was watching this documentary about wearing masks and whether they were effective in protecting healthy people from contracting the virus. Obviously, probably many of you know that there's been a debate about this. And I was surprised to find out that actually it's a very common occurrence in Western countries that Asian people who are wearing masks sometimes are spat at in the street. Sometimes they are, verbally attacked. Sometimes they're physically attacked. Why? Because they're wearing a mask. And it seems that there is an aversion, generally speaking, in the Western culture, it's something that's frowned upon to wear a mask in public. And this is why it's difficult now. They're saying it's very difficult for people, like specifically in the US, to wear masks. It's very hard. It's something that's frowned upon. You look like, if you wear a mask and you go into like a grocery store, you're going to be frowned upon. People don't like this. Although, right, like there is, it seems to be, there is evidence that's actually, it is protective. So again, this is a norm. So norms are very powerful. So generally speaking, these should be followed and should not, again, we're not saying about, talking about things that violate Islam or go against Islam. We're talking about these things that Islam is silent about. There's one question we said we will deal with, which is, how do we differentiate between proper shyness, healthy shyness, and fake ones, or shyness, which is actually, it should not be called shyness. It's more of a sense of shame, or shyness put in an inappropriate place. It's when your shyness leads to a violation of one of the rights of Allah or the rights of people, a violation of the truth. Let's say, for example, someone is shy of speaking in public, and someone was wronged, or someone was attacked wrongly, and let's say policemen came and wanted to judge the situation, and you realized the person who was on the wrong was actually making a very strong case with their tongue. They're very good with their speech, and they made a good case, and it seemed that they were actually, the police was going to arrest the victim, because they bought into the story that let's say the attacker, or the one who made a violation, they bought into their story. The police bought into their story, and you were there. You were a witness. You're shy to speak. Shyness. Why? Because I'm not used to these situations, and I feel shy, and it's too much for me, right? And you see the other person's right is going to be taken away. They're going to be wronged. Then if you don't speak and go against this kind of reservation, this is not shyness. This is wrong. This is wrong. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, نعم النساء نساء الأنصار لم يمنعهن الحياء من أن يتفقهن في دين الله. She said that how the women of the Ansar are very good, because their sense of shyness did not prevent them from asking the Prophet ﷺ critical questions. Sometimes people are shy about asking these personal questions, right? So, but still, they had this sense of shyness. But when it stood as an obstacle on the path of learning their religion, so they can practice it and they can do the right things, right? They realized, no, it's an obstacle, and there is a higher priority now, which is learning my religion. Now it becomes inappropriate. So what is inappropriate shyness is highly situational. It's a matter of hierarchy. When it comes at the expense of a greater good, or it leads to a greater evil, then it stops becoming shyness. It becomes an unhealthy type of reservation or behavior, and it should be avoided. This is in brief. Again, so with this, alhamdulillah, we're done with the section on al-haya, on shyness, and inshallah, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, tomorrow again we will start around, these days around 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. GTA time. Inshallah, we will move on to a new section bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Again, jazakumullah khairan for joining us. Barakallahu feekum. Stay safe, all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us, and may Allah make things easy for everyone. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.